because why not? So, it's not this thing, window. So yeah, I'm Josh Wulf. I work here at CreditSense. I do mostly server-side node programming and not a whole lot of front-end development. And I've done a bunch of stuff in Minecraft. And I have been looking at Elm for a while, and I'm a big fan of functional programming and Haskell, so I thought that I would see if I could get Elm working inside Minecraft. And I was inspired by a talk at the recent ElmConf, which was about using Elm for robotics programming. Guy gave a talk there, and he had like a Lego Mindstorms robot, and he showed how he used it. Like, what he did was he had the model and the sensors were coming in as like changes to the model, and then what was being rendered on the other side of that was the outputs to the different motors. So you should turn this motor like this, turn that motor like that, and it's just all the logic in between, right? So it takes a state of the world, reduces it down, and then outputs some actions to take. And so in his demo, he has like C, and then behavior, perception, behavior, and action. Those are the three kind of things. And that's really the structure of an Elm app. It's got those three things. It's got like a model that gets reduced in the, what's that one called? That's like, you got init and update and then view. Yeah, so to get it to work inside Minecraft, Minecraft has like a JavaScript interpreting environment inside it, inside the JVM. It's an interpreter called Nashorn. And I'll show you that working first of all, if you haven't seen it before. So we'll play with this. And then I'll go here. So yeah, I got a JavaScript and Minecraft programming platform that I've been working on, and it uses TypeScript. And you can write code in your browser, and then you can save it, and it gets it's like a hello world kind of spell in here. It gets pushed onto a Minecraft server, and then you can execute it. So hello world. Yeah, it's a basic kind of function here. And so if I save that, it says go to Minecraft and type cast hello world. So I go back to Minecraft. So once I connect to the server, it synchronizes all my spells there. It uses like a GraphQL subscription to do that. And then if I type in cast hello world, that's right, this needs to be changed to main. Yeah.
Says Wulf on the fly.
Yeah, Elm, Meetup. And it's using TypeScript in here, so you got typings. Let's see, disable until sunrise. Hello, Elm Meetup. Well, you can see, that it's using like an ES6 style syntax here. The JavaScript interpreter in Java is ES5. It's kind of a weird subset of ES5. It's Oracle's thing. So you can see it happens live. So yeah, this server here is like used by kids mostly around the world, and they're like building all kinds of weird stuff on here programmatically. Because actual building in Minecraft is turned off, but they can like generate things. You can see this stuff is all programmatically generated. This is one thing that I wrote that was pretty cool. It's W? No. Dun, dun, right. Yeah, this is something that I did when I was back in the 80s. Like, you used to do your own 8-bit bitmapped fonts. So I wrote a kind of a thing for kids to teach them how to do that. So you can put in like this, cast right. And maybe I've got to give it something like ABC. Oh, it's not working. It goes, yeah, it must be a different name. I've got like 144 spells in here. So anyway, I wanted to do Yeah, you're right. You're a genius. Yeah, that was a change that I made. And then we were looking at like, because to be able to reliably pass parameters into it, we had to adopt a pattern. And so cast write ABC, ding. Let's have a look if that did it. Maybe if I can change the time to day. Anyway, I'm going to have to get the error console up to show you what happens when I try to run Elm in here. So I go to here, master.
Is one server shared between everyone?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. There's a few different servers running. They're running inside Docker containers. And this is a thing called Cockpit that kind of gives you like a GUI. It's kind of like PHP MyAdmin, but for servers and stuff. Containers, no running containers, that's weird. Scriptcraft, containers, Gandalf. So there's a Java exception. It's throwing some kind of exception from my native for each. Anyway, that's what the Java stack traces look like. And debugging your JavaScript inside Minecraft is a bit difficult because it's wrapped inside this execution context in Java. And so the stack traces lose all of their references to the actual code that you're running and just give you this massive thing like that. So to get this thing running, to get Elm running in here, here's how I did it. So because I've got JavaScript running in there, I want to use the Elm JavaScript interoperability. And the way that that works is you have this Elm application that, I looked at how he did the robotics, right? I was like, how do you do the robotics thing? It doesn't have a browser. It doesn't have like the normal things that you think about when you think of an Elm app running in a web browser. So instead of using the browser.sandbox that you saw Max using, this one uses platform.worker, which is for creating headless Elm apps. Does the IntelliSense tell me anything about that? There we go. Create a headless program with no user interface. This is great if you want to use Elm as the brains for something. For example, you could send messages out ports to modify the DOM, but do all the complex logic in Elm. So I thought I'll do like the most basic thing, like I'll send in a name and I'll get back a hello world kind of statement out of Elm. So the first thing that I ran into with this is Max was telling me that platform.work is deprecated. You know, we were trying to figure it out. We had some syntax error and he Googled it and it said program.platform instead of platform.worker. Or maybe it was platform.program. And the issue with that is if I go platform.worker, Elm.
Using something else.
Yeah. So you kind of have this, this thing comes up and it says, you know, this package is deprecated as of Elm 0.18 and the addition of platform.program. And so I Googled around a bit and found this core Elm package that has it in there, platform.program. When I scaffolded my Elm app, I used Elm init, and then it puts like an npm init or git init. It creates an elm.json file. It's like an npm package file. So you got this platform core 4.0 programs. I was like, okay, let me try to use that. So if you have a look at my Elm program here, it created this elm.json file, and it's using Elm core 1.0.2. So I was like, okay, well, this thing here is like version 4, and then I was like, well, let me see if there's anything else. Oh, look, it goes all the way up to 5.11. So I put in here, I just changed this one to 5.11, like that. And then when I try to do like an Elm make on it, try that. it says the dependencies in your elm.json are not compatible. And I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it to work. So I went to the Elm Slack, which Max was talking about. After I Googled around a bit, they were all like, oh, if you want to really find out, you got to go to the Elm Slack. So I went to the Elm Slack, jumped into beginners, and I was like, yo guys, like, why does this thing not work? And someone jumped in pretty much straight away. It was last night when I got to that part. Here it is here. Yeah. How do I install Elm Core 5.1.1 in an Elm project in Elm 0.19? When I do this, I get this, and then these guys kind of explained it to me that they actually, between 0.18 and 0.19, they've renamed the core kind of libraries and then reversioned them again from scratch.
Yeah, from N line.
Yeah. And it's like, if you don't know what you're looking for, it's like the difference between those two is like, how do you tell, right?
Yeah.
So this one here is Elm Lang core, but it actually needs to be Elm core. Sounds like a new type of metal from Norway. Elm core. 102. And platform.worker has not been deprecated in there, so there you go. That wasn't actually my problem. So it's a bit of a red herring, but it was good kind of detour into the Elm ecosystem and like the community to see how things work. And that was part of what I wanted to check out. I was like, you know, if I get stuck with this thing, how easy it is for me to get unstuck. So my Elm app, so to Elm from JS. So what I do here is when something comes in through the subscription, I pass in this from JS message into my reducer. So it's like an action in a Redux reducer, like into my dispatcher. So the update function in Elm is like you got a single reducer, and it just dispatches all of your different actions. So you have, I've only got one from JS. It takes the name, it's a string, and then I do a side effect in here, which is, I don't know how you're actually supposed to do this kind of stuff, but normally what this thing does is it takes a model and then it like transforms that model somehow by like replacing something on it, adding something to it, taking something off it, and then returns the new model. So I have here, I'm returning the model, but I'm also doing this side effect here, which is from Elm, and then I send out hello plus name. So then to actually make this into something that I can use, I use this little make script here. I just use Elm make, and then I output it here, and then I uglify it as well. And then what that does is it dumps out this basically like the entire Elm runtime. It's kind of cool because you can look through the Elm runtime and see how the whole thing is built. You got like your currying functions that, like, you know, I think you can probably overwhelm it by going over 9 by the look of it. So you can look through how all this stuff is implemented in here, which is quite cool. And then somewhere way down the bottom, like if I go Control F and then I go from JS, yeah. And then what was my other thing that I had? Oh, if I look for hello, I'll find it like that. So here's like, this is my code down here, like way down the bottom. It's like literally a few lines, that's it. Whacked in. The whole thing's like 55K. And then when it's minified, it's 7K. And then like I put this MC header thing, which is the code that I need for MagicCraft to run it. So when I use the unminified version, this one here, I get an error in MagicCraft because what we found with this was as soon as we showed kids how to write functions in Minecraft using JavaScript, they would immediately write loops with like millions of iterations in them. So I found this project for the Nashorn interpreter, and what it does is it scans through the code, it uses regexes, and it'll find any for loops that don't have braces around them, and then it will throw an exception and say you have to have braces in your for loops. And then what it'll do is it'll inject a function inside each of the for loops, and then it has a counter. So it can like throw an exception after 1,000 iterations or whatever number you set. So we stuck that in there. So the minified version of it looks like this. And it's got lots of for loops and statement blocks in there with like no braces in them. So I couldn't use this one. I had to use the whole 58K one. This one's just 7K. So my eventual whole thing looks like this. Elm. I'm pretty sure I called it Elm. Should be the thing that would make sense to call it. Elm. Here it is. So I whacked in the whole Elm runtime, and then right down the bottom, put my own little kind of bootstrap thing to get it to run inside MagicCraft down here. And so when I go back to here and try to run it, nothing happens. So I'll show you what happens when I run it in Node. So here, if I run node HW Elm, and nothing happens here either. Just Elm min,
Hi, Josh.
main, howdy. Let me try this. There you go. So it actually does work. It's pretty simple. It sends in the world and it says hello. So if I change this here to Elm Meetup and then run it again, hello Elm Meetup. So it actually does work. If I try running it using the Nashorn JavaScript interpreter, this is what I get. Doesn't support const. So I'll change everything to var. It also doesn't have console.log, so I'm going to change that to print. And then it doesn't have require either. Yeah, I'll try running this one. Cd into DST. And then if I run it here, MC Elm. Same thing with the const. Once I take the const and stuff out, what it complains about is set timeout, because there's no set timeout inside the Nashorn environment. So what I did with the MagicCraft environment is it has polyfills in it, but here's the problem that occurs inside that environment. There's me quitting from the server. So when I come down here, I can see, if you have a look here, you can see this is the kind of stuff that gets injected. You see this thing here? This function call here increments the counter for every time a block is executed, if it's a statement or a function or anything, and it will throw if it's had too many executions. But the problem with this inside Nashorn right now is it's right here. For some reason, the Nashorn Java native JSON parser is trying to parse something, and it says expected JSON literal but found you undefined. So somehow undefined is showing up inside there, and it's trying to parse it. So that's the exception that it's throwing at the moment. So I'm going to keep going with it to get it to work inside there. But at the moment, basically what I'm trying to get working in there is I'm trying to get the Elm runtime to run inside Nashorn. Then once I get that going, then I'll be able to get all of the other stuff to work, once I can get the polyfills and stuff. So that was basically my journey of trying to get Elm to work inside Minecraft, which means inside the Java execution environment with the ports.